Morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. Good to be with you today. It's a beautiful day around here. Oh, a little chilly, but hey, it's January. What do you expect in the mountains of southwest Pennsylvania? We're not at the beach. Well, I hope you're having a good week. I have a passage I'd like to share with you. It comes from Romans chapter 14 and verse 17. It says this: For the kingdom of God is not a matter of what we eat or drink, but of living a life of goodness and peace and joy. Read that again. The kingdom of God is not a matter of what we eat or drink, but of living a life of goodness and peace and joy. So let's start for a minute and ask ourselves, what is the kingdom of God? Jesus talked about this a lot. The Old Testament mentions it. Book of Revelation brings it up from time to time. The kingdom of God is the place where God rules. It's life totally under the leadership of the Lord. Now, you and I understand that in this world, there are people who are in charge and they're not God. Sometimes they're not even godly. But Jesus said the kingdom of God is here already. Let me read a passage for you from Luke chapter 11, where Jesus talks about casting out demons and explaining to the leaders of the Sadducees that this is an expression of something. And it goes on to say, Jesus in 11:20 of Luke, "But if I am casting out demons by the power of God, then the kingdom of God has arrived among you." We Christians live in two worlds. We live in the world that we know. That's the one we see, we touch, we breathe in, we eat vegetables and fruits and food from. It's the world that we're born into, and at some point we die. We know about that world. That's pretty familiar to all of us. But we also live in a second world, a different world. We live at the same time in the kingdom of God. Now, Jesus goes on to say that the kingdom of God hasn't come in its fullness, and we can testify to that. There's an awful lot of harm and hurt and anger and sadness and tragedy that occurs in this kingdom of this world, but surely won't occur where God is intimately involved with everything and the facets of the world are gone. But the kingdom of God is not something that we wait for to come. It's something that's already here and it's in the midst of us. And we can live in the kingdom of God while we are living in the kingdom of this world. Now, how does that happen? Well, that was the passage in Romans that I started out with. For the kingdom of God is not a matter of what we eat or drink. That's the kingdom of this world. That's the kingdom of things, of our jobs, the physical world in which we live. And we are constrained by that physical world in many, many ways. In spite of what a lot of people think, you can't fly. I mean, you can fly in an airplane, you can glide with a parachute or a paraglider. You even have now these suits that you can glide around with, sort of looks like a flying squirrel thing. But other than that, you can go up on the roof and jump off, and you're going to land on the ground every time. We can't do that. We can't escape. We can't totally escape the effects of this world on our lives. But we can also live in the second world. And that's what the passage says. God is not a matter of what we eat or drink. That's this world. But we'll put God back in it because that's what the subject is. But God is a matter of living a life of goodness and peace and joy. You see, living a life of goodness and peace and joy in this world is a choice. It's not a matter of circumstances. I've seen people who have a lot and they're not happy. I've known people who had nothing and they were as happy as could be. I've seen people who have all the resources that you could imagine and they don't live in peace. They're in constant fear. They're in constant worry that something's going to happen or the stock market's going to change or somebody's going to break in. And so they put in all of these security systems. And evidently, a lot of people live that way because, well, look how much money is spent on security systems. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't have a security system. Don't go there with it. But security systems don't bring peace. They might bring a little bit of less anxiousness, but they're not going to bring peace. To live a life of peace and love and joy is something you choose. In the midst of struggle, you choose hope and joy. In the midst of anger, you choose peace. In the midst of people complaining, you choose happiness. And whatever you choose determines what you do. If I decide I'm going to live a life of love, then I'm going to make efforts to love people I encounter, whether they love me back or not, whether they're lovable or not, whether they have characteristics that I know about that are irritating as I'll get out. I'm still going to respond to them in love. Why? Not because they give me anything in return, but because I chose to do that. If I want to have a life of peace, then in the midst of trauma, in the midst of arguments, in the midst of anger, I'm going to choose to respond in a peaceful way. Nothing can change that except me. Nobody can make you angry. You choose to get angry. Nobody can make you fight. You choose to fight. As I was saying to someone the other day, nobody can make you hold a grudge. Only you can choose to do that. And so this passage in Romans is telling us, look, we live in this world, which is things and that sort of stuff, but we also live in this other world. And we can choose, well, in fact, everybody does choose. It's not can, it's does. Everybody does choose whether they're going to let the values of this world guide their lives or whether they're going to let the values of the kingdom of God guide their life. So where are you in that choice? Which one have you made? I certainly encourage you to choose the kingdom of God stuff because that's where you find real joy and real happiness. The other will never get it there for you. Something will always interfere. Well, I invite you to think about it. Hope you have a wonderful day. I hope it's a beautiful day outside and inside for you. Thanks for listening. If you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can do as fast as we can do it to help meet your need. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you again.